EWBSX the Cyberbully, where it's never over.
You don't know that I know. You watch me every night, and I just can't resist the urge to stand here in the light. Your greedy eyes upon me, and then I come undone. And I could close the curtain, but this is too much fun. I get off on you, getting off on me. Give you what you want, but nothing is so right. Some give and take, kind of life we make. When your line is crossed, I get off. I get off. There's so much left unspoken between the two of us. It's so much more exciting to look when you can touch. You could say I'm different, and maybe I'm a freak, but I know how to twist ya to bring you to your knees. I get off on you, getting off on me. Give you what you want, but nothing is so right. Some give and take, kind of life we make. When your line is crossed, I get off. I get off. What you don't know, what you can't see, is what I do for you, I do for me. I get off on you, getting off on me. I give you what you want, yeah. I get off on you, getting off on me. Give you what you want, but nothing is so right. I give and take, kind of life we make. When your line is crossed, I get off. I get off. I get off.
Really, what kind of things could quantum computing actually help us do?
Well, I'm glad you asked. But keep in mind, quantum computing is still in its infancy, Joe, but the potential is there. I mean, with enough quantum power, we could simulate not just physical systems, but maybe even the complexity of the human experience. Like, what would one feel like if one had not had breakfast yesterday? Things like this. Now, I did have breakfast yesterday, so it's irrelevant, but you get my point. We could start to maybe scratch the surface of understanding some of these deep, deep questions that are part of the human experience. Questions that everyone seems to ask, but no one seems to have the answers to. I mean, really, the sky is the limit, Joe.
It's EWBSX, the Cyberbully. Go ahead, put that Burger King crown on. You've earned it.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another wonderful episode of the Astrolabe. It is an Astrolate, the latest of the labes. This is one of those days where it was just going to start whenever it started, and I decided to accept that, and it is what it is. Although I will say I did actively choose to be a little bit later than I was going to, because Mr. Phil Gibson, shout out to Mr. Phil Gibson in the house. He suggested that I use EWBSX as the intro. I can just get the stream going and have it just play some EWBSX for a little bit. And I was like, oh, you know what? Now that I'm using Streamlabs, that actually is probably a lot more doable. So I had to sit down and throw that together real quick. And then I suppose, given how the chat has gone here, I think we need to say a prayer for Phil's keyboard. But seems like he's having a good time. So thank you, friends, for showing up here for a late Friday night lab. This is going to be a good one. We are going to have a grand old time with this one. So do me a favor and hit the like button. We're about to get started here. We're going to talk about the earworm. You know which one. You know exactly which earworm I'm talking about. It's been stuck in your head, hasn't it? Oh yeah, I know it has. If it hasn't been, I don't know where you've been. I don't know how you're an internet casual, I suppose. If it hasn't been stuck in your head, I'm going to make this. We're gonna do a little on the fly scene editing here. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller there because I don't feel like trying to sit all the way over here. Yeah. If it hasn't been in your head, I don't know where you've been. Maybe you just took a little break from the internet for a little bit, in which case, that's good for you. Good for you. But for the rest of us, it has been stuck in our heads all day. It is a banger. It is just such a banger. I believe this may be the official start of White Boy Summer. Now, White Boy Summer is always running, of course, especially in the land of eternal White Boy Summer. Shout out to the cyberbully, ewbsx.app if you don't know what I'm talking about. There's like a quantum superposition thing here or something. Can I pull out a big word that makes it sound like I'm smart? Where there is both eternal White Boy Summer, but then each year there's also like an official start to White Boy Summer. And in this case, I think that we had White Boy Summer kicked off by a schizophrenic, bipolar black rapper. Because that's what 2025 is all about. Slutty Mook says, the biggest, most beautiful White Boy Summer, folks. You know what the White Boy Summer is? Well, we got a breaking news update here from whitehouse.gov, and I just credulously believe everything I see on the internet, so we're going to believe this to be true. Look at this. Breaking news. Experts predict this could be the biggest White Boy Summer on record. Numbers expected to double from last year. That's how back we are. Not only are we going to have the biggest White Boy Summer on record, but the numbers are going to double from last year. Last year was a pretty amazing White Boy Summer. I remember it. It was fantastic. Loved me some White Boy Summer. All 2024. It was just nonstop wins stacking up. Wins for the White Boys. But now, 2025, numbers are going to double from last year? Oh, man. I don't know if anyone's ready for this. Thank you, old Rose Swig, for bringing this to my attention. Thank you to our White House for you see, it says right here, the source, whitehouse.gov. Our president is looking out for us, boys. He's letting us know that it's coming. It's coming down the pike. So we here at the Astrolabe are we're proud autism appreciators. And so in the spirit of autism appreciation, I bring to you the autistic reporter, Michael Falk.
Autistic reporter Michael Falk joins us now with his interview. Nice to see you again, Michael.
I cannot see you, Brooke. I can only hear you.
Right.
Okay. Hello, Brooke. I finished speaking with Brian Wasserman 26 minutes ago and have been standing here since then waiting for you to talk to me. Watch that interview now. Brian Wasserman used to live in a very big mansion. Now he lives in a tiny jail cell. Is living in prison different from living in a 40,000 square foot mansion in Westchester?
Yeah, it's different.
How is it different from living in a 40,000 square foot mansion in Westchester?
Well, it's every second of my day is accounted for. It's just day after day of rigid routine.
Rigid routine. What is the rigid routine?
Well, we get up at exactly 6 a.m.
Yes.
Exactly 6:15 a.m. Everyone is counted.
Counted.
Yeah, we have to line up 7 times a day to be counted.
Line up and be counted.
And then there's the food. I'd never tasted such terrible food.
How long do you have to stay in the line?
We have to walk in lines everywhere.
Do you have to make that line straight?
Oh, yeah. Well, frankly, I always thought you didn't have to do anything in prison, but we have a work detail, and it's hard. Just yesterday, I spent the entire day stacking crates, just one on top of the other.
I like to stack.
You do?
Yes, I like to stack crates, stacking crates.
Yeah, well, it's hard work.
Yes, stacking crates.
Yeah, I don't mean to complain, but
One on top of another,
I
on top of
realized what
another,
I
on
did
top of
was
another, on
wrong.
top of another.
I just want to serve my time, and maybe I can get out of here and get back to my family.
Why do you want to get out of here?
For my family.
Can you stack your family?
What?
I want to be in prison.
No, you don't.
I want to be in prison.
No, you don't.
Yes.
You see, it takes its toll on you. Well, you wear the same clothes every day,
Yes.
and you live in this tiny little box.
Yes. Yes.
And there's hardly any human contact.
How do I get to live here?
No.
How do I get to live here? I need
you
to go to
don't-
prison now.
I don't think you understand.
Now.
You see, this is a scary
Now.
place.
Now.
I mean, sure, there are normal guys like me who are in here for
Now.
embezzling and fraud, but
that takes too
we
long. I need to go
also
to prison
have
now.
violent
I need to
offenders.
go now.
I mean, the guy in the next cell over, he robbed the convenience store and shot the cashier.
Robbed a convenience store.
Yeah,
I
so,
shot the cashier. Shot the
you know,
cashier. Okay.
I mean, it's a
Make sure the
scary
cashier's
place.
dead.
It's rough.
Make sure the cashier is dead.
We found a libertarian in the wild, folks. Once upon a time, The Onion was actually capable of producing funny things. That was, I want to know if they actually got an autistic guy and just got him to, got him to, like, say the lines. That's, the acting there is phenomenal. Shout out to our noble autistic reporter, Michael Falk. And also shout out to Autism Capital for making sure that we're aware of these great moments in autism history. Okay, this one here is from Shroomzy. I'm just delighted. Okay, if you're just listening, this is one of those moments where you want to make sure you're watching the video form of this. So if you're on the podcast, listen just the audio version. Go to the video. You could go to Substack, Kingpilled on Substack. You can go to YouTube. You can go to X, at Real Kingpilled, and go to about the 19-minute mark. That just do it. Just go open up the video and sit down and watch this. It makes me so happy that I live in a world where somebody put forth the time and effort required to produce this masterful, absolutely stupendous work of art. Mr. Paul Suda has been talking about how we need to take over the arts. We need to dump massive amounts of capital into the arts. The arts are worth wasting capital on. This is what I'm talking about right here.
The Germans didn't bother with the front. Instead, they strolled right through the Ardennes forest, a region the French assumed was too dense for tanks. Turns out the Germans were basically saying, "Hold my schnitzel." In addition to schnitzels, German soldiers were also supplied with Pervitin, As it turns out, Blitzkrieg wasn't just about tanks and tactics. It was about troops blitzed out of their minds on methamphetamine. Now, if you're struggling to imagine what an invasion led by a meth-fueled Nazi horde in armored vehicles looks like, well, let me paint that picture for you.
Auf der Heide.
Auf der Heide blüht ein kleines Blümelein und das heißt Erika. Eins von 100.000 kleinen Bienelein wird umschwärmt. Erika, denn ihr Herz ist voller Süßigkeit. Zarter Duft entströmt im Blütenkleid. Auf der Heide blüht ein kleines Blümelein und das heißt Erika.
Oh man, I'm sorry if the if it's dropping frames again. I'm getting errors popping up over here. YouTube's not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Viewers may experience buffering. This is just going to be a process. Apparently, I've changed settings between each of these, and I'm gradually narrowing in on it. Hopefully, the experience is improving from episode to episode. But if I think that's probably the last like visual. I don't think they have another video visual thing. So hopefully the audio is sticking together. The caption the guy put on this tweet was, "Daughter, Daddy, what does Blitzkrieg mean? Wife, they are learning World War II. My explanation." Oh man.
The Germans didn't bother with the front.
I'm so glad somebody put the time into producing all of this, and then we just get to consume it for free on the internet. Don't anybody ever try to convince you that that the arts are dead. The arts aren't dead. They're just distributed, and they just need to be consolidated once again. Okay, so I'm gonna play this for you. This is from the movie All's Quiet on the Western Front, which I haven't seen. I'm familiar with the story. I haven't seen. I don't think I've seen the one from the 70s, and I definitely haven't seen the most recent one. But this is the score from it. The story, for those who don't know. The story is it's World War I told from the perspective of the Germans. Interesting concept, and this is the score from it. I don't know if I'm gonna play the whole thing because this is one of those. There's some songs and some things that copyright can get a little grabbier about, but this here, I'll just play it for you. This is from the score from All's Quiet on the Western Front, which is again a story about World War I told from the perspective of the Germans. See if there's something that you recognize. Okay, so just a tremendous score, but obviously you recognize that little tritone theme. This adds another layer to this. This is I will die on this hill. I don't care. This is a brilliant, brilliant piece of art. I've got some commentary on it, but first of all, I lied. There is still some video content, and it's gonna be all clipped up. But you know, whatever. You guys will get the idea. I have to figure out how to align all of my. I'm getting really close to just buying another computer and just using. I'm on a Mac right now because I had a Mac and just the computer that I happen to have. But I'm suspecting a lot of these things have to do with like weird workarounds to try to make Mac stuff work with stuff that's not necessarily designed to work with Macs. So I'm this close to just buying another computer just to use for streaming. But obviously this is the earworm, and the memes coming out of this are tremendous, just tremendous. Like I'm sitting here scrolling the timeline, and it's just layers upon layers upon layers. The you know, these cultural cycles and memes and layered memes are passing through time so fast. We're iterating through them so quickly because we have such a high-paced society, and our communication networks are all completely just massive amounts of data moving around constantly all the time. 200 years ago, you didn't have ideas that would form and morph and develop and evolve. It would take them years, and now it'll happen in minutes. The joke will initiate, it'll come to full life, full fruition, and then it'll pass on, and everyone will move on from it in the space of minutes, when it would have been like a motif that people might have been stuck on for months, years, decades, even in the past. So it's the way I see it is it's kind of like if you were to like go back in time, you do like as a historian, you're going to go study the like history of different like cultural themes or cultural motifs, and you'd kind of studiously analyze them and the way they develop and evolve. And this guy was a prominent contributor to this when he gave this speech once upon a time where he said yada yada yada, and you sort of like track the arc of various cultural motifs. If you're doing that in real time now, you could do this just like on like a constantly revolving, cycling, minute by minute basis. You can see the patterns of how the ideas morph and flow through society really quickly. Like we're like iterating through these things really quickly. So when he wrote this, he knew exactly what he was doing by taking nigga and Heil Hitler and putting them together in an incredibly catchy hook. He knew that it was going to kick off an absolute firestorm, just mimetic wildfire. Immediately, everyone is going to do what they do on the internet, which is grab it and incorporate it into all sorts of amusing, ironic, just random, schizophrenic, whatever, different pieces of content. And then you deliver ideas layered within ideas by attaching like this soundtrack to a different video of something happening with Trump or with anyone else. And this isn't just happening on like niche Nazi-inclined right-wing Twitter. It's not just happening there. It's happening all over the internet. All the shit posting, slop accounts, massive millions of followers, they're all trafficking in this. This is, if you're looking at this just like on an objective metric of, I'm going to produce a piece of content and the goal is to obtain virality, and mission accomplished. But it's not just because of the sheer shock value. Like, that's part of it. The sheer shock value of it. It's also there's some deeper commentary that I'll get into here in just a minute. But I wanted to play some examples of some of these just masterpieces produced within a day. Like, the song drops, and all of the schizo editors and all of the hardworking anonymous content creators who frankly, like, most of these guys are just doing this for free. They just sit down, they open up the old laptop, and they jam some stuff together and post it on the internet, and it just goes out there. Nobody ever knows who created it or where it came from. These guys just labored. They're laboring in the content production mines for free, and we're very much indebted to them because we get to then consume things like this.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. What am I gonna do? I'm Hitler's top guy. What am I gonna do? Adolf Hitler chose me to lead the revolution.
They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. All my niggas Nazis, nigga, how
There's so many rare hides that are cropping up lately. Maybe it's just my algorithm. Maybe it's just my the people I've stumbled into following now. But oh my god, so many rare hides. I might have some more for you guys on some future episodes. But so here's the lyrics to it. So this is everyone just hears the hook, but the lyrics to it are. It shouldn't be surprising to you if you're kind of familiar with the story of Kanye West, but. This isn't just him trying to make a viral thing. This is him making a statement as only a extremely insane, brilliant artist possibly can. So the verse says, "Man, these people took my kids from me, then they closed my bank account. I got so much anger in me, got no way to take it out. I think I'm stuck in the Matrix. Where the fuck's my nitrous? Yes, I am cuck. I like when people fuck on my bitch. That the shit that I'm posting on Twitter, they telling me, yay, don't say that. How niggas can't see me in public. I'm driving an all-chrome Maybach. With all the money and fame, I still can't get my kids back. With all the money and fame, I still don't get to see my children. Niggas see my Twitter, but they don't see how I be feeling, so I became a Nazi. Yeah, bitch, I'm the villain." And then you have the whole hook. And then he has a Hitler speech, and it's funny, this is like one of the most famous Hitler speeches, and I saw a tweet where someone was like they were like accusing him of being a casual they were like this MF just Googled Hitler speech and picked the first one that came up. And it's like, guy makes a massively viral song called Heil Hitler, nigga Heil Hitler, and people are accusing him of being a casual. His racism cred isn't good enough or something. So he's obviously saying, and like the thing he's emphasizing here is like this is him lashing out at organized Jewry, essentially. This is his way of lashing out at them in the way that he can. And honestly, he's a really tragic figure. I think Kanye is a really tragic figure. He's obviously brilliant, obviously extremely autistic, and has some serious demons. I guarantee you that he's been into some really, really dark stuff in the industry that he's been in. And obviously it has traumatized him. And he's done a lot of dumb shit. But it's also like this is the archetype that he is. He is the guy who goes out and just kind of does dumb shit, but there's like an earthy profoundness to it. This is the role of the jester, the one who like holds up the mirror to society and shows society like I'm a product of you. This is a really a very compelling sort of literary figure. You see these kinds of figures in a lot of classic literature. The guy who's kind of criminal, kind of insane, kind of degenerate, but he's also because he's characterized by this disregard for normal boundaries and normal standards. Like that's a sword that cuts both ways. In one sense, it's like, oh yeah, so he does all sorts of like he publicly admits that he's a cuck, that he likes to see his I like when people fuck on my bitch. Like he's saying this, like this is who I am, just raw. Like this is, yeah, I've got all these issues, I'm all screwed up and everything. But he could drive an all chrome Maybach. He has all the money and fame in the world. He's been given everything, but yet he can't even see his kids. The thing that the most common man on the street has access to their children, he doesn't get access to his children. Now, it's partly because, he does things like produce songs like this. But there's a real tension in there. On one hand, he's wildly rewarded and lauded and given all of this money and fame and latitude to do things that other people aren't. Yet he can't get this really fundamental, basic thing that's been taken from him. And it's not because oh, he's bad and dangerous and the kids are in a better place where they're safe. No, like those kids have they've been dealt a pretty rough hand in general. There isn't really a place for them to go, I think, that where they're just good and safe. But honestly, they'd probably be better off with Kanye than with their mom. So this is more than just some like like meathead degenerate rapper. There are layers to this. What did I have here? Okay, yeah. So this is a really good analysis of this from this person. I don't know who this is. Artemis Consort Hunter Ash. It says the deep analysis of HH you didn't want but are getting anyway. Kanye does us the favor of being quite explicit about his thought process in this song, so minimal extrapolation is needed. Despite all his money and fame, he can't see his kids, a primal human need. So he's declared war on the entire post-war liberal order. I should say that he's obviously crazy. I recognize his madness because I see it in myself. Highly sensitive, highly reactive, prone to extremes. And that's probably why he lost custody. But from his perspective, society awarded his mind with international fame and billions of dollars, yet he doesn't have the same right to a family as the average janitor. That's an inherently schizophrenic state of affairs, and I understand how it would produce bitterness. They'll use his madness to make money, but they'll also use it to take from him any hope of a fulfilling life. That right there. They will use his madness to make money, but also use it to take from him any hope of a fulfilling life. And so what does he do? He does the thing that he knows how to do, which is use his madness creatively to draw attention to the things he wants attention drawn to. So he's given up on fitting into the world as it is and seeks to destroy it. His invocation of Hitler is not about some considered endorsement of the tenets of National Socialism. It's a form of secular Satanism. He correctly perceives that Hitler is the devil of the modern West, much more so than Satan. He hates what society has done to him, so he adopts the maximally oppositional stance. So he's being a Satanist. But he's not being a Satanist in the sense that he's worshiping Satan. He's being a Satanist performatively. This is like ironic Satanism. He's doing the thing that the Satanists did as a parody of what the Satanists did, but now doing it in opposition to the what he sees as the actual Satanists. I'm not saying that Kanye is some like super deep enlightened theological savant, but he's also got a wisdom to him that's sort of like a wisdom of the wisdom of a child. Has sort of a naive wisdom to him. Why is it resonating? Because many people feel the same way. The liberal order has failed them, and worse, it sneers at their concerns. Rather than coming to the table and seeking to compromise, it simply declares all opposition illegitimate and doubles down. There's no possible outcome of this strategy other than the rise of a movement that defines itself in opposition. And the most oppositional stance is to embrace your enemy's devil as your God. So his embrace of Hitler is precisely because it's the thing that is going to make...
I'm going to come.
It's not possible for there to be bad timing for that. His embrace of Hitler is because Hitler is the worst thing possible in the minds of the people who he thinks are the worst thing possible, who he thinks are the worst people in the world. And so he says, I'm going to break your taboo. And that's precisely what he's doing. This is you can poo-poo this as just Kanye being crazy, but he has, in the last 48 hours, he has done more to break the taboo of Uncle Hortler than I don't know, anything that has happened in the last 20 years. I guess October 7th played a big role in that, but you don't. This is building on October 7th. John Stokes here says, I don't think people. Actually, hold on just a sec. What was he replying to? Okay, so he says, I don't think people nowadays understand how this imagery looked to us Christians when it began to circulate in this fashion in the 70s and 80s, and how seriously Christians took these symbols and the very real darkness and horror they represented to us. And he's speaking of these sorts of images. Motley Crue, Iron Maiden. And yet many young people thought it was all good, campy, edgy fun, and a way to both tweak the elders and also to break out entirely from a few hundred years of a specific Christian-dominated world of symbols and arguments. I see echoes of this in parts of the right. As a big bad in living memory, Hitler means as little to the majority of them as Satan did to the average metalhead of my youth. He's your parents' and grandparents' main villain, and he's useful to you as a way to countersignal, but really he's just a dead symbol of another era that you and yours never lived in and have no deep feelings about other than, this is old, why should I care? Is there other commentary here? No, I don't think so. Oh, wait. Yeah, here, JB Blackpost says, in response to the most oppositional stance is to embrace your enemy's devil as your God, said this could also sum up the post-World War II consensus. The West didn't return to Christianity or turn to God to form its new cultural worldview. There was no God, but there was a devil, Hitler. And so our new God would just be whatever was most opposite Hitler, which is how the West ended up being anti-nationalist and anti-white. So this is another layer to what Kanye's doing. And on this sort of thing, I don't even know if he would be able to sit down and rationally explain all of this. Some of this is just sort of is just instinctive. But he's also parodying the West itself in the way that he's critiquing the West. So he's just doing the equal opposite thing to the West. The West is going to fall over themselves, completely irrationally shitting and pissing everywhere about Hitler. So he's just going to mirror that, except he's going to be pro-Hitler. And he's going to do it in a really sort of grotesque, over-the-top, in-your-face sort of way as a direct mirror and parody of this whole artifice. So, like, he knows there's something stinks here. He knows there's some bullshit going on. He's not going to be able to sit down and give you an elaborate explanation of the merits of the West and why the West has collapsed and the Frankfurt School and Gramscian's Long March to the Institutions. And he's not going to be able to sit down and explicate all of that to you. But he can smell bullshit. And he's like, okay, on one hand, you're going to treat me like a genius and pay me these millions of dollars and all this adulation and everything for my brain. My brain is an asset to you. You want to take advantage of the things my brain just kind of spontaneously does. Well, okay. Well, how about the trade-off here is I also get to keep my kids even though I'm kind of weird. He's rebelling against the regime that's going to have its cake and eat it too. And he says no. Here's a black guy in Germany. Of course, it's a video. I don't know if it's actually going to play well, but you guys will kind of get the idea. Black guy, a black streamer in Germany reacting to it and trying not to sing along with it.
Bro, this is actually so fucking tough, bro. I cannot, bro. I cannot. Nah, Kanye, please, please. Why is it actually going hard? I'm trying to like contain myself. Bro, I want to say it so bad, but I can't say it. I just can't, bro. I don't live in the U.S., so if I'm gonna say it out here, bro, I might get arrested. I'm telling y'all, bro. I can get arrested for this shit in my country. Bro, this is actually insane.
So he's produced this video that's gone massively uber viral. That's the other thing too, is like the video, he's got a bunch of black dudes. So he recruited like a couple dozen black dudes to go dress up in furs, which I mean, I'm sure that's probably not real hard to convince him, but to stand there and to stare at the camera and just yell, "Nigga Heil Hitler," over and over and over again. And one of the guys who was there, he's like an actor, and he was like, "Dude, thank you, Kanye, for this great opportunity. Thank you for giving me this boost to my career." And people are hating on him, and he's like, "Fuck you, I don't care." This is the whole Hitler mythology is just breaking and crumbling all around us. You got black dudes who are just showing up, and they're just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna come here and do this because Kanye, whatever, Kanye's cool." The rest of this is all bullshit. What am I gonna do? Go like listen to Kamala Harris cackle or something? No, I'm gonna go get my bag. If I'm going to be in this video with Kanye that's going to go mega uber viral, they're not afraid of like being canceled, and they're like, "Oh, this shit's all fake and gay." That's what this has given people permission for. And yet at the same time, you've got a dude who's vibing with it, who lives in a country where he literally cannot quote the lyrics to this massively popular song. He might get arrested if he quotes the lyrics. This is late Soviet stuff. This is the point at which the vast majority of the population just checks out on all of this. There's going to be so many viral, there already is, but there's going to be so many viral clips of this now. People are going to be chanting this in the streets. They're going to be adding it into videos. They're going to be, and I'm not just talking about, you know, like our edgy boys, normies. This one song has just completely, I think, completely defanged two things. One, the people having to feel like, "Ooh, Hitler. Hey, did you know this thing about Hitler?" People are just gonna talk about Hitler in the open without getting the other thing is white people saying nigga or nigger, saying it publicly. I'm not just saying doing it derogatorily. I don't think you should go around just doing it derogatorily. Shouldn't be making a habit of that. It's just bad manners. But like being able to just say it if you're telling a story or you're like quoting something. This is normalizing that. Yeah. Damn it, Jeremy says he's turning their golem against them. Yes. Yep. Exactly. Okay, let me get this the super chat real quick. Slosher, 10 leaf bucks. Thank you, my friend, for supporting the show. Hit the like button, folks. We only got 29 likes so far. I know it's a late stream. I know the viewership is lower, but please, we gotta hit the like button. I need it. I need it from you. I'm dropping hard R's here, okay? I'm dropping hard R's on YouTube. The least you could do is hit the like button. Slosher says, all they want to give him are material rewards like money, but all they keep him from having a relationship with his own flesh and blood. Money has diminishing returns. He'd rather burn it all down. Yes. This is
Welcome to the Gulag. If you survive, you earn your freedom.
Welcome to the Gulag, Mr. Rob P. Now a member of the King Pilled, a channel member. That means he gets his name in green, and he gets to use the HH emote. And there's some other emotes in there you can use as well. I actually need to put some more in there. Let me make a note of that for myself here real quick. This is YouTube channel member emotes. Adding to the list that never gets shorter. What was I saying? He's okay. The super chat, money has diminishing returns. You'd rather burn it all down. Oh yeah. So he's yeah. I'll burn your shit. I don't care anymore. You've pushed me over the edge. And like the fact that if you get really hung up on his personal foibles, like posting porn and like talking about being a cuck and endorsing that and this shit with his cousin and all this sort of thing. Like the dude is, I'm not saying the dude is mentally well. I'm saying he's a barometer. He is a vector of metaphysical influence. He's a portal between realms. And the fact that he's a flawed character is what makes him so effective for that. And I don't want to get it twisted. I'm not saying he is just a universally positive thing either. No, that's not how these things work. When you have these like liminal figures that can access the netherworld, or that they have this, like the veil of reality seems a little thinner around them, that itself that's a sword that cuts both ways as well. I think it's abundantly clear that he has an extremely sensitive spiritual antenna, and that's part of why he's insane. So all those other things that he does, those aren't taking away from the impact of this. They're actually part of the reason why this is as impactful as it is. Sid Steyerhart here on Twitter said, Hitler lost the war, but as an unstoppable mimetic phenomenon, it's still very likely that he wins the long game. Liberalism made a grave mistake by turning Hitler into secular Satan, an inverted evil superhero, rather than simply acknowledging that he was a man. It's obvious why liberalism did this. It papers over their own failures. After World War II, they effectively made any serious critique of liberalism anathema. Would you rather be speaking German? Is all they respond with. But sooner or later, the average honest man replies, maybe. That hits. Rob P says, anyone who has watched... whatever, I'll just say it. Anybody who has watched porn is a cuck. He's hitting on a nerve that is a rampant problem. That's the other thing, too, is he is... This is me being more speculative about him. He is... I just realized I put this up on the screen so you guys get a little preview of what's coming next. He is... He's absolutely the type of person, he's self-destructive in the sense that he will turn himself, his own body, his own person, his own image into an artistic piece itself. And so I would not encourage this. I would not say that this is a good thing, but when it's happening, I can observe that it is happening. Part of that, the whole going public about his thing with his cousin and all of this is sort of it's like a form of martyrdom, kind of, that he is he's turning himself into the example to depict this thing. So like, I'm addicted to porn, that means I'm a cuck. And so I'm going to proudly say that I'm a cuck so that and be really public about with talking about porn and posting porn and everything, so that posting and consuming and trafficking in porn and being a cuck become publicly associated with one another. I combine them in myself. So when people think of people who are addicted to porn or who like to watch it or who talk about porn all the time, they also think of cuckoldry and being a cuck. So in this sense, he sort of is, there's like a self-martyrdom to it, where he's turning himself into the message, using himself as the material for the message that gets used up. Which again, there's probably messianic things like having images of oneself as being the Messiah, sort of. So I think this is his thing he has to grapple with, is he's going to be constantly walking the line between these two. Where he winds up, who knows? There's been men who have done far more deranged things and been far more insane than him, who have wound up as saints of the church. So that's not for us to say. His story isn't told yet, but I think he is a generationally fascinating person. Okay, another one of these I had to share. The Royal Surf, constantly posting bangers. This is what I'm talking about. Now we're getting memes layered into memes. We've got the Heil Hitler, the I Heil Hitler nigga Downey Boys with Nigga Heil Hitler by Kanye West. It's just It's beautiful. We live in beautiful times.
They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. They don't understand the things I say on Twitter. All my niggas Nazis, nigga, how Hitler. She wanna fuck with Japan. I put the crumb on the bench.
This is a reaction to this tweet from Dominic Michael Trippi. Breaking. President Trump reportedly cutting contact with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu due to arrogance, attempts to push him around, causing Trump to feel disrespected and manipulated. Huh! Imagine that. I wonder who's been telling you. Is there a little corner of the internet that has been telling you for months now that Trump and Netanyahu do not like one another, do not trust one another, and that this relationship is destined to Netanyahu. Perfect timing. It's so perfect. This relationship has been on a steady trajectory toward the complete BTFOing of Netanyahu. And yet there are a substantial number of oatmeal-brained retards out there who have been trying to convince you he is Zionist Dawn. He's owned by Israel. Don't you know who Miriam Adelson is? This is like peak midwit signaling. Super chat from Isaac, $5. He says, I was playing Hell Let Loose with Surf like an hour ago. Huh, well look at you. Look at you being a knower of people. We got the inside scoop here, boys. We got a surf knower in our chat. Isaac, thank you for the super chat, my friend. Ryan Isaac, this was a Netanyahu plan. Matt, why can't you see it? Why would you truce the plan? Here at the Labe, we truced. Trucesters unite. Truce. So more on this story. Battle Beagle. Shortly after that was announced, breaking U.S. Secretary of Defense Hegseth cancels visit to Israel. And this was a last-minute cancellation, unexpected. Battle Beagle, perfect response. Battle Beagle's been on a tear lately. What an excellent poster. Then, here's a headline for you. Mike Huckabee. U.S. isn't required to get permission from Israel to cut deal with Houthis. Remember when everyone was dooming over Mike Huckabee being made the ambassador to Israel? Oh, here it is. It's all over. It's all done. I regret my vote. Trump hasn't deported 100 million Browns in 100 days. He's Zion Dawn. He's owned by Miriam Adelson. And here you have Mike Huckabee saying, we don't have to get permission from Israel. Fuck them. Then the New York Times posts, this Israeli government is not our ally. We have a regime change op underway. Netanyahu is cooked. Just in, President Trump no longer demanding Saudi Arabia recognize Israel for nuclear deal with U.S. Oh, look at that. Stormy Waters. He says, I'd tell you, but you wouldn't believe me. Mr. Stormy Waters has been preaching this good word for a while now. So Andrew Torba posts this, a tweet from a reporter here. Trump was asked by reporters, what would happen if the Houthis continued to attack Israel? He replied, I'll be fine if that happens. Ho, okay. Stormy says, so Trump cuts off talks with Bibi while in direct dialogue with Iran and Houthis. Trump still has a 10% tariff on Tel Aviv and fires Bibi's spy, Waltz or whatever his name. Maybe one of these right-wing political mega brains can explain for me because I'm just a hard-coping retard. I need help. You guys seeing it? And then here, breaking, the friendship between Trump and Netanyahu is over. Oh, now it's over. It wasn't over when Trump said, fuck that guy. Now it's over. Israeli Army Radio reports that President Trump has decided to cut contact with Netanyahu, stating that Netanyahu and his associates act arrogant and try to push around the president. Close associates of Trump told Israeli Minister of Strategic Affairs Ron Dermer that the president feels disrespected and manipulated by Netanyahu, and that there's nothing he hates more than appearing as easily manipulated in public. This Dumbo-ass looking MFer here thought that he could just play the same game with Trump. But he found out that someone's got a bigger dick. Stormy says, oh, really? Now the friendship is over? Just now? It's been over since 2020, but my right-wing geopol mega brains didn't bother looking because Biden was in the White House, not Trump. But if you knew Trump was going to be back in the White House, you'd have paid attention. But ma Zion Don, ma chair pull out. Here's the quote again. Trump, I liked Bibi. I still like Bibi, but I also like loyalty. The first person to congratulate Biden was Bibi. And not only did he congratulate him, he did it on tape. Netanyahu waited over 12 hours from the time the election was called and was not the first foreign leader to congratulate Biden. Trump, I haven't spoken to him since. Fuck him. And then Trump posted the clip of Jeffrey Sachs calling Netanyahu obsessive about getting the U.S. to fight Iran. It was a clip where Sachs called him a deep, dark son of a bitch. All of these things are, like, this is all publicly available. It's not like you had to have access to some secret server where the information was being dropped. This is all just posted. It was publicly talked about and reported. But certain people have an axe to grind that apparently prohibits them from consuming or retaining information that might cut against their narrative. Shout out to Column Rush. Says the chair pull. Men pull chairs out for women. It was such an obvious power move. Right. Exactly. Theodore Dragonsbane, another Labe appreciator. He says, my Christian Zionist head's going to explode with this one. I pity them. Their ideology is truly living in the last days, and they mistake the death of their ideal for the death of the world. Well stated. And then, just before I went live here, a Gulf diplomatic source has stated that President Trump will soon issue a declaration regarding American recognition of Palestine. This comes amid strained relations between Trump and Netanyahu due to the Israeli prime minister's attempts to sabotage American nuclear negotiations with Iran. The fact that all of this has happened at the same time that that Mike Waltz was demoted from national security advisor to a UN ambassador, that's not a coincidence. Not a coincidence at all. Michael Witkoff has been the chief diplomat in all of this because he's close friends with Trump. And he's reliable, he's dependable, and he's one of those old New York real estate guys who knows how to knock heads together if he needs to. And then, additionally, something else we can glean from this, Mike Waltz is removed as national security advisor, clearly within this whole orbit of happenings here. And who is given the role of national security advisor? Marco Rubio. So Trump removes Mike Waltz because he's being a disloyal Zionist subversive. So when he has a problem of disloyal Zionist subversive on his hands, he acts quickly to remove him. And then he puts his trusted man in the role. So this is another check mark in the Marco Rubio demonstrating his loyalty and reliability to Trump. From the article here, it says Saudi Arabia will host a Gulf U.S. summit in mid-May during Trump's Mideast visit. Speculation swirls over a major announcement on a Palestinian state and peaceful U.S.-Saudi nuclear cooperation. This follows the summit held on May 21, 2017 during Trump's first term. The summit, hosted by Saudi Arabia in its capital, Riyadh, was preceded by numerous predictions regarding the announcement that President Donald Trump referred to, describing it as a, quote, very important announcement during a meeting with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at the White House on Tuesday, May 6. In addition to what U.S. President Donald Trump intends to announce, the summit's agenda and the deals and agreements expected to take place have become the talk of the town, ranging from security and military details to technology details and artificial intelligence deals. All Gulf leaders are scheduled to participate in the Gulf U.S. Summit, with the exception of King Salman bin Abdulaziz, who has not participated in public events or meetings for a long time due to his health conditions. Will Donald Trump recognize a Palestinian state? A Gulf diplomatic source who declined to be named or disclose his position told the media line, quote, President Donald Trump will issue a declaration regarding the state of Palestine and American recognition of it, and that there will be the establishment of a Palestinian state without the presence of Hamas. The source also added, if an announcement of American recognition of the state of Palestine is made, it will be the most important declaration that will change the balance of power in the Middle East, and more countries will join the Abraham Accords. The source confirmed that economic agreements will certainly be present, but many of them have already been announced, and we may witness the Gulf states being exempted from tariffs. Ahmed al-Ibrahim, a former Gulf diplomat, told the media line, quote, I don't expect it to be about Palestine. Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and King Abdullah II of Jordan have not been invited. They are the two countries closest to Palestine, and it would be important for them to be present at any event like this. He also said there will be major deals coming, perhaps similar to what happened at the 2017 Gulf-U.S. Summit, with Saudi deals worth more... I'm gonna come. Thank you, Edusar. $5. He says, hit the like button, D-bags. Yeah, what the man said. Hit the like button. Thank you, sir. And reminder, there's a Streamlabs link pinned in the chat right now on YouTube for those who don't want to give some money to YouTube. There will be major deals coming, perhaps similar to what happened at the 2017 Gulf-U.S. Summit, with Saudi deals worth more than $400 billion. Let's not forget that the UAE announced investments in the U.S. worth more than $1 trillion, and Saudi Arabia announced investments worth more than $600 billion. He continued, this is clear because President Donald Trump intends to visit the UAE and Qatar after concluding his visit to Saudi Arabia. These are two important economies with significant financial resources and major investments in the United States. The timing of this, I would say, is indicates that the administration is prioritizing, with this new establishment of this new combination of security umbrella and currency market, sort of resetting the U.S. dollar system. They're bringing these Gulf states explicitly, they're trying to pull them away from China, keeping them focused to the West and bringing them completely under that umbrella. And Israel is just being told, we're telling you where you are going to slot into this new world. This is what it's going to look like. It's not like, if you ever think that there's going to be some sort of a like Israel just gets glassed and this is like some sort of a reasonable or realistic outcome, like you're out to lunch. The best thing possible is to treat Israel as a real legitimate nation and establish a long and lasting peace, establishing a network of relationships with all of their neighbors so that they can live in peace and they don't need us anymore. There, we got you. We spent 70, 80 odd years getting you established in place. And now, why don't you be a free and independent nation? In fact, I think you need a lot of multiculturalism. You need democracy. Ahmed Bouchouki, a Saudi political analyst, told the media line, this is about major economic deals that will take place in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Perhaps U.S. President Donald Trump hinted at this when he told the American people to buy stocks now before his big announcement in the next 2 days. I love that this is the most Trumpian patronage ever. We're just gonna cut straight through the bullshit, and I'm just gonna tell you, hey, I'm about to goose the stock market. Better get in. You want to make money? Your president's got your back. He just told you, go buy some stocks. Regarding the news of a peaceful U.S.-Saudi nuclear cooperation to generate electricity in Saudi Arabia, Bouchouki said Saudi Arabia has had a program announced since 2010, and it's been discussed several times before. International companies are now working to implement these projects in Saudi Arabia. Plans are currently underway in Saudi Arabia to build the kingdom's first nuclear reactor, with several international companies competing to design and build the reactor. Meanwhile, the neighboring Gulf country, the United Arab Emirates, already owns the Barakah reactor and is the only Arab country with a 4-reactor nuclear power plant in collaboration with a Korean company. One of the things as well here, I was listening to this podcast from the Bitcoin Layer. Very good podcast. Strongly encourage you to listen to it. It's about a lot more than just Bitcoin. They talk about the markets, talks about the Eurodollar a lot, especially lately. And one of the points that he was making, he had an episode just recently talking about something with Grok in the title, that he was having a conversation with Grok about the Eurodollar. And the conclusion he came to is he drew a parallel from the petrodollar system that was established in the 70s. then what has basically replaced the petrodollar system is the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. That is the eurodollar. So you created the eurodollar sort of morphed into the petrodollar, and that was like one of the primary expressions of it. And then it's like the thing that characterizes the nature of the system for that period of time. And then the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative is essentially the eurodollar. So in attacking the eurodollar, Trump is also attacking the Belt and Road Initiative, but it's also moving fully beyond the petrodollar world, which has been sort of falling behind. And the Middle East, obviously oil is a big deal there. If the United States is going to start producing a lot more oil, then there's the threat. But you also have to keep the Middle Eastern states on side. So you don't want to be like putting them out of business by becoming too much of an exporter and cutting into their market. So as part of renegotiating this whole thing, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of that's part of the calculus being worked through right now. How do we make sure that we stay on side? Because Trump has a long history with Saudi Arabia. A lot of his real estate deals and stuff were financed through it. When he was in a tough spot, Saudi Arabia bought, I think it was one of the princes bought his yacht or something when he needed cash, I think was the story, or something like that. But he's got a long history with Saudi Arabia. So they want to stay on side, but they've got to work out some of these implications of this new world order, you might say. Little blip of something out of China here from Zero Hedge. This was from 4 days ago. Beijing stops publishing hundreds of statistics to cover up economic collapse. 2 weeks ago, when we first reported that as a result of the ongoing Trump trade war with China, Chinese factories are shutting down, laying off workers, we said that as a result of this war of attrition, in which the outcome of every incremental clash and battle will be used just as aggressively for media propaganda, quote, the fact that any marginal gain will be amplified as trade war weakness will mean that Beijing will do everything in its power to prevent the full extent of the shutdowns from being revealed. Sure enough, fast forward to today when the Wall Street Journal reports that whereas, quote, not long ago anyone could comb through a wide range of official data from China, then it started to disappear. Regular China watchers know very well that when it comes to local data reporting, China's fabrication and goal-seeking skills are second to none, and even the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics is a rank amateur compared to Beijing's National Bureau of Statistics, which tramples over actual econometric reporting with the glee of a bull in a, well, China shop. It's why nobody actually believes any of the propaganda released by Beijing, and instead independent, private, and very expensive third-party services for data collection and analysis are used to measure accurately the current state of China's economy. So imagine how bad it must be when, instead of simply making stuff up, China decides that the easier approach is simply to no longer report the fake data. The best example is surely the data on Chinese youth unemployment, which hit a record 22% in the summer of 2023, at which point China decided to simply stop reporting it altogether. And this is a tweet from August of 2023. Zero Hedge said, in the U.S., bad data is just seasonally massaged and birth death until it's plus 300,000. In China, they just stop reporting it. Curiously, China halted reports on its youth unemployment just weeks after we quoted Goldman China strategist Maggie Wee, who said that, quote, Chinese youth unemployment rates tend to be higher than overall unemployment rates in this group appear particularly vulnerable to economic down cycles, likely due to a lack of experience. In other words, when it comes to early indicators of economic collapse, this is it. And more importantly, such an indicator would also telegraph to China's millions of unemployed young men and women that there are millions more like them, and that all they have to do to fix their plight is to demand change in Beijing and stage a youth insurrection, which of course is the single biggest nightmare for Chinese Communist Party. But it's not just youth unemployment. According to the Wall Street Journal, land sales measures, foreign investment data, and countless other unemployment indicators have gone dark in recent years, while data on cremations and a business confidence index have been cut off. Even official soy sauce production reports are gone. In all, quote, Chinese officials have stopped publishing hundreds of data points once used by researchers and investors, according to a Wall Street Journal analysis. In most cases, Chinese authorities haven't given any reason for ending or withholding data, but the missing numbers have come as the world's second biggest economy has, quote, stumbled under the weight of excessive debt, a crumbling real estate market, and other troubles, spurring heavy-handed efforts by authorities to control the narrative. Or, precisely what we said when we warned in April that, quote, Beijing will do everything in its power to prevent the full extent of the shutdowns from being revealed. China's National Bureau of Statistics stopped publishing some numbers related to unemployment in urban areas in recent years. After an anonymous user on the Bureau's website asked why one of those data points had disappeared, the Bureau only said that the ministry that provided it stopped sharing the data. The mysteriously disappearing data, which is there one day and gone as soon as it gets ugly, has made it impossible for people to know what's going on in China at a pivotal time, with the trade war between Washington and Beijing expected to hit China hard and weaken global growth. Plunging trade with the U.S. has already led to production shutdowns and job cuts, but of course, without actual data to confirm or deny the true state of the economy, Beijing can rely on propaganda and state media, both of which it rules with an iron fist and an impenetrable reality distortion firewall. One economist said that he's been assessing the health of China's services sector by counting news stories about owners of gyms and beauty salons who abruptly close up and skip town with users' membership fees. None of this is news to regular Zero Hedge readers. Back in 2007, the late former Chinese Premier Li Keqiang famously told the U.S. ambassador in 2007 that GDP data for a Chinese province he governed at the time were man-made and therefore unreliable, according to a leaked U.S. diplomatic cable. Instead, he said he kept track of electricity consumption, rail freight volumes, and new bank loans. And up here it said, economists have turned to alternative sources such as movie box office revenues, satellite data on the intensity of nighttime lights, the operating rates of cement factories, and electricity generation by major power companies. Some parse location data from mapping services run by private companies such as Chinese tech giant Baidu to gauge business activity. Okay, so continuing here. This is a very interesting little story. I got a few interesting points to it. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit. But looking at this person... So the caption here is, Hallmark is raising their prices because of tariffs. Looking at this person, and as you listen to her, I believe, her, start talking, I don't think you would necessarily predict the direction that this is going to go.
Hallmark is raising all of their prices because of tariffs. Now hear me out. I just left the Hallmark store with the ornaments and all that, right? I love them. I've been going to them for years. Like many of you collect the ornaments and shit, so I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill. But what I just found out is a little...
This one's... She's quiet. I can't get it any louder than this. So I'll just let it play, and I won't jump in. I'll let it play. You can just turn the volume up more, and then we'll talk about it.
A little concerning to me. I have some questions. So I'm checking out, right? Buying, Mother's Day cards and shit. And I see the ornament book. And I'm like, oh my God, fuck yeah, the ornament book. I was like, are these free? Can I take one? And she was like, yes. And I was like, okay, cool. And then she was like, but you also have to take this. I said, what do you mean? She said, this is the updated price list because the ornament book came out and they had to do price adjustments. So these are the new pricing. So this is a generic list, right? So if something was $149.99, it should have said it's $164.99. And I said, what's going on with the prices? And then she's handing it to me. And she said it's because of the tariffs. And I said, oh, okay. So I get into the car and I'm thinking to myself, I was like, a tariff is like a tax on imported goods from outside of the country. So I Googled where Hallmark manufactures their shit from. And it said Kansas, which is in the United States. And I was like, okay. So then I call Hallmark. I said, hey, where do you guys make your ornaments and your cards and all your stuff? And she goes, the majority of our things, to my knowledge, are made in Kansas. Everything is here made in the United States. I said, okay. I was like, is there anything that's made outside of the United States? She goes, to my knowledge, no. And I said, okay. She goes, we do maybe pick a design or something that we purchase from someone outside of the United States. But to my knowledge, everything is made right here in the United States. I said, okay, so why are you guys raising the prices? And not just on some items, right? Like if you had like one or two items that are made and manufactured in other countries and have it shipped here, okay, cool. Tariffs are probably going to affect that. You raise the prices. Okay, whatever. This is a generic list for everything. It doesn't... So you see what I'm saying? It's not making sense to me at all. So she said, listen, I don't have, they told me, this is what she said, they told me to tell you guys it is because of the climate. Let me get the list. Hold on, let me get the word. She calls it an economic climate. And I said, oh, okay, I get that. But that still isn't answering my question on why we're raising the prices on things that have nothing to do with goods coming from outside of the United States. She said, if you want, I can email my supervisor, pass this information to them, and then, they can email you back. I said, okay, that would be great. So they did that, and then at 1:55 p.m., like this is all happening now, I get an email from Hallmark. She said, the Dream book printed early. The full impact of the tariffs were unknown at the time of print. The recent tariffs had an impact on Hallmark's cost, leading to these changes. We still have hundreds of amazing ornaments and would be thrilled to help you find what you're looking for. So I wrote back, because that's not answering my question. I said, I understand that, but my question is, why are you raising all of the prices? To my understanding, the manufacturers here in the United States, so why are the American-made ornaments also raising in prices? And also, is there any ornaments made in China or outside the U.S.? Because per your employee, everything to our knowledge is made here. So how are the tariffs affecting what's made here? Again, if this list said, like, the prices manufactured from China are going to be going up $5, you know what I mean? Like, if it had more clarification, but it doesn't. This is just a generic list, like, everything is being affected. So I don't understand. So after I sent that email, I didn't get one back yet. So again, I'm not trying to make a mountain out of a molehill here. I just think it's a little shitty because everyone's going to look at Trump, and I'm not trying to stand up for Trump, and I'm not trying to attack Trump whatsoever. But I think everyone's going to be jumping on this bandwagon where these companies are just going to blame Trump and take advantage of a situation just like they did with COVID. There's no reason to put tariffs on American-made items. You see what I'm saying? So for them just to jump on the bandwagon and then turn around and blame the administration is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. The American people have power, and we need to start asking these questions. Now, I might get an email back, and they might be like, hey, this is why we did it, A, B, and C. And I might be like, you know what, you're 100% right. I completely agree. Absolutely. But I just think this is COVID all over again. COVID all over again. So now everyone is going to try to chime in and price gouge literally everything, and they're going to turn around and blame Trump. So everyone's going to think Trump is the problem. Again, I'm not here to stand up for him. I'm not here to attack him whatsoever. We need to hold these businesses accountable. They're jumping on a bandwagon, it seems like. So, I don't know. Fuck.
Okay. I pulled my volume down, so you can turn your volume back up again. And I will pull my volume back up again here. Okay. So, I mean, okay, like, yeah, breaking news, corporate company, or big corporation is trying to play politics with economic things vis-a-vis Trump. Like, breaking news. Very surprising. What is interesting to me, what stands out to me about this video is when I started watching it, I did not expect to see someone who, that person, taking this angle on it. It just doesn't seem as if she's like some diehard MAGA person, but the relentlessness of the mass propaganda for, recession, economy bad, Trump crash stock market, Trump tariffs bad, tariffs tax, expensive, But someone here who seems to me representative of a rather ordinary, normie sort of person is like, hang on a second, this is bullshit. Make your shit in America. And what's funny is from the perspective of Hallmark Hallmark could very easily be like, hey, check it out. 98% of all of our stuff is all made in America. We're the Made in America company. They could have generated a whole bunch of goodwill and positive publicity for that. Instead, they're doing this passive aggressive bullshit thing and just treating it as a cover for being able to just generally raise prices. If they're like leaving themselves that door open so they could just raise prices in general and say, oh, bad man, Trump bad man, Trump make price high, tariff, even though all their stuff is being made in the U.S. Contra, The bullshit of Hallmark is Walmart. Walton heirs announce plans for university on former Walmart home office site. A new university is planned for the former site of the Walmart home office, Walton heirs Tom Walton and Stuart Walton announced on Thursday. Northwest Arkansas-based think tank Heartland Forward said in a news release the university is being developed in collaboration with national education experts and will offer a modern, flexible, and accessible model that is both STEM-focused and business-infused. The university system is being replaced. For better or for worse. You could take either perspective on this, I'm sure. People will just decide to take the perspective that they are temperamentally inclined to. But we're starting to see a trend picking up here of companies deciding to get proactively involved in employee development, essentially. This is like an extended version of employee development. What it's going to be is like, it's like best case for this is industrialized apprenticeships, basically. So this is a shift in the nature of the labor market, and I think it's in a good direction as well. Like frankly, I'm not inclined to trust companies like Walmart, but in the ideal, these major companies would be taking a proactive role in them taking on the expense of educating and training someone and getting them into the workforce with whatever skills they need to start up there, and then sidestepping college altogether for the vast majority of people. And then the avenue to get into a university would be from once you're already in a role like this and you're doing it like for a defined reason up to another sort of a role. I think we're starting to see a trend here. More and more are moving in this direction. At the same time, you're getting the administration defunding the university. So I can't help but think that these things this is a coordinated effort. The school is set to welcome its first undergraduate class of around 500 students in the coming years and grow to about 1,500 undergraduates and 500 non-degree learners over time. The release said that in the university's initial years of operation, tuition will be fully covered to help attract possible students. Bentonville is the perfect place to spark catalytic change, a community rooted in innovation, entrepreneurship, and bold thinking. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. A mural promoting bicycle travel as a means to arrive happy outside a Walmart home office in Bentonville. In the spring of 2022, Walmart Inc. created a new position called Director of Workplace Mobility with a very specific task: figure out how to get 10% of the retail's local workforce to commute by any means other than driving alone. Okay, so that's a new article. And then there was another Walmart thing here. Walmart launches Grow With Us to help small businesses succeed on store shelves. Walmart has unveiled Grow With Us, a new initiative designed to help American small businesses navigate the complexities of becoming a Walmart supplier and expand their reach in stores and online. The 4-step voluntary program offers education, mentorship, exposure opportunities, and financial support. The announcement comes as Walmart continues to emphasize its commitment to U.S.-based businesses. More than 60% of Walmart's suppliers are small businesses, and over 2/3 of its total product spend goes to items made, grown, or assembled in the United States. Those are rookie numbers. Only 2/3? You get those numbers up. The Grow With Us program includes access to Walmart's free supplier academy featuring 30 e-learning modules across 4 learning paths. Okay, that's kind of... I suppose they could be good. I'm not optimistic. I've sat through corporate HR training modules and never learned a thing except for developing a desire to self-harm. Product showcase opportunities are available through Walmart's U.S. Open Call, Range B platform and marketplace. Mentorship, personalized support from experienced retail mentors. And then financing, access to Walmart's early payment program and Bridge Marketplace for eligible participants. The announcement was made during the opening of Milo's Tea Company's newest manufacturing facility in Spartanburg, South Carolina. Chair and CEO Tricia Wallwork highlighted Milo's journey from delivering tea to a single Walmart store in Birmingham, Alabama, to its current availability in nearly every Walmart nationwide. The brand success story mirrors Walmart's broader mission to support American entrepreneurship. In addition to Grow With Us, Walmart will open applications for its 2025 Open Call event on June 24. This annual pitch completion, taking place October 7 to 8 in Bentonville, allows U.S.-based small and medium-sized businesses to present shelf-ready products directly to Walmart and Sam's Club buyers. So this is more positive behavior, even if it's, I think this is directionally good. It strikes me as I don't think much of Walmart. And it strikes me as kind of doing the bare minimum, but it's good to see these companies at least trying to do the bare minimum. This is an interesting story I saw today. Acting FEMA Administrator Cameron Hamilton has been escorted out of FEMA headquarters. And I've played videos about this guy here. He was when he came in as acting FEMA Administrator, he was very engaged with what was happening in North Carolina, and as I understood, played an active role in ensuring that shit got unfucked there post haste. So he's been escorted out of FEMA headquarters. I was like, huh, well that's not good. I like that guy. He seemed like he was a good dude. Well, interesting. The substance of the story here is from Gateway Pundit. Trump's acting FEMA chief, Cameron Hamilton, escorted out of HQ one day after, quote, defying plan to abolish the agency during a congressional hearing. Acting FEMA Administrator Cameron Hamilton was abruptly removed from his post Thursday, just one day after publicly opposing the administration's push to abolish the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Hamilton, a proud Trump supporter and former Navy SEAL who led FEMA since January, was reportedly escorted out of the agency's headquarters after clashing with Trump and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem's vision to dismantle FEMA. According to sources cited by CNN, an internal email reviewed by the Washington Post revealed that David Richardson, a Marine Corps veteran and Assistant Secretary for DHS's Countering Weapons of Mass Destruction Office, has been appointed to assume the duties of FEMA Administrator effective immediately. FEMA's press office confirmed the move to Politico, stating plainly Cameron Hamilton is no longer serving in this capacity. The reason for his removal remains unclear, but it comes just one day after Hamilton testified before the House Appropriations Committee, where he firmly opposed eliminating FEMA, a stance that directly contradicts the position of President Trump and DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, both of whom have been pushing to return disaster preparedness and response to state and local control. Under questioning from Representative Rosa DeLauro, from a Democrat from Connecticut, we're going to see a video of her here in just a second, Hamilton said, as the senior advisor to the president on disasters and emergency management and to the Secretary of Homeland Security, I do not believe it is in the best interest of the American people to eliminate the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Having said that, I am not in a position to make decisions and impact outcomes. President Trump has been clear about his disdain for FEMA's bloated operations, particularly after its lackluster response to Hurricane Helene in western North Carolina last year. In January, he told reporters, I'll be signing an executive order to begin the process of fundamentally reforming and overhauling FEMA, or maybe getting rid of FEMA. Frankly, FEMA is not good. I think when you have a problem like this, you want to go, whether it's a Democrat or Republican governor, you want to use your state to fix it and not waste time calling FEMA. Noem, a staunch ally, echoed this sentiment, arguing that FEMA's one-size-fits-all approach stifles local innovation and burdens taxpayers. Democrat crying about it happening. So, interesting. I like the guy. It seemed good that if FEMA was going to exist, I would want guys who at least seemed like he did to be the ones heading it up. And I think he's a good dude. But if you counter-signal the boss, you got to go. Them's the rules. So here is the aforementioned purple-haired goblin and the aforementioned Secretary Noem.
Where is the evidence of the...
You can tell how I listened to it.
Where is the evidence of the failure of FEMA?
Congresswoman, we still have claims open from Hurricane Katrina. We have fire claims that are still unpaid to people who said they were due them 7 to 8 to 10 years old. They have never been paid by FEMA. So
since Katrina, I know that was in 2005 because I graduated high school in 2006. And for our senior class trip, at the beginning of our senior year, we went down and did disaster relief after Hurricane Katrina. We stayed in Waveland, Mississippi and cleaned up down there. We're gutting houses and all sorts of stuff. There are claims still open from 20 years ago. This is why FEMA's just got to go.
one of the worst things that the federal government can do is to stand up in front of the American public and say, we will be there, we will walk alongside you in the most horrible time of your life and then never follow through on it.
Well, that's
what
not...
the president has said is he's sick and tired of federal agencies that pick and choose who wins and who loses. He wants to make sure that the federal government's commitment, when it makes a commitment, that it follows through. So he's going to empower states.
The federal government is abdicating its commitment to the American people who find
themselves. It did
themselves...
certainly under Joe Biden's administration. Let me
just say this to you. The Office of Professional Responsibility. The Office of Professional, because I knew you were going to go there. As you know, FEMA's Office of Professional Responsibility, under the Biden administration, there was no evidence.
How is this? You know what's crazy is this person is probably not even the most mentally ill bio-Leninist archetype in Congress. AI Congress can't come soon enough.
No direction or agency or field leadership to discriminate against disaster victims based on political affiliation, which was a charge.
I'll follow up with you.
Well, and I will follow up. I will follow up, and I'll follow up with my colleagues, quite frankly, and to really listen to people whose states, communities have been devastated, and what role FEMA has played. I don't know how many millions and millions of dollars went out in Louisiana. Actually, I've asked my staff to calculate that when Katrina hit, and the response was overwhelming. And the response has been overwhelming. If you want to make corrections, that's fine. We all agree with that.
Yeah, we can point to thousands and thousands of
well, if you wouldn't mind getting this committee, the information and the evidence where you talk about the dysfunction of the agency and where it has really failed, that would be important to those of us who are appropriating dollars.
I think it's illegal to draw a picture of her in most European countries. And I'll just say, I know a lot of people are, I mean, I'm not like a big fan of Kristi Noem. I know a lot of people are really exercised about how much they dislike her. I gotta say, I think she's been terrific so far. I think she's been just fine. I know people have been like, I've gotten all worked up about her, posing for pictures and all that sort of thing. Like, that's her job. That's her job. She's making mass deportation sexy. Like to the think about how this hits the FanDuel American. You got to visualize these things through the eyes of the FanDuel American. And the FanDuel American is not sitting there thinking, Kristi Noem shouldn't be wearing a Border Patrol jacket and standing there holding a gun. They just go, wow, our government is sexy. Like it's that simple. That's all she has to do. And thus far, everything DHS has done has seemed to be executing well. And her job is ultimately to manage a lot of the administrative stuff and be like, I'm going through the airport and you just see video of her all over the place talking about the Real ID thing. And I just remember sitting there looking at it and being like, it's nice to have just a moderately attractive white woman talking in a Midwestern accent to me at an airport in the United States, particularly given the rest of the people I was surrounded with. But like, give me that versus like, imagine having Rosa DeLauro on the screen at an airport. That I probably would just refuse to go to the airport at that point. But I've been perfectly happy with Kristi Noem thus far, and I think people who have spazzed out about her are just taking things way too seriously. So this is what used to be in the airport. Mr. Pete Buttigieg, our president, just, I don't know how he does it. How does he do it? How does he manage to consistently be the funniest person on the planet? The president, sitting in the Oval Office, said one of the single funniest things I could possibly conceive of to be said by a president sitting in the Oval Office.
And when they took over, Buttigieg, who has no clue, he drives to work on his bicycle with his, in all fairness, with his husband on the back, which is a nice, loving relationship. But he didn't have a clue. This guy didn't have a clue. And he's actually a contender for president. Between him and Crockett, you can have that party. But he didn't.
President is talking shit, man. That, yeah, I get the sense that he's really getting tired of the faggots. That he's just a lot of these comments he's making. He's like, I'm really tired of playing this game, like dancing around it. Like, they're kind of weird. Yeah, they're kind of gross. That's just not normal. It's not normal. They're a spectacle. They're a spectacle. That's not necessarily a good thing. He's just getting tired of dancing around it. He's like, too many faggots. Another white pill. President Trump issues an executive order to build a national center for homeless veterans using funds that were previously spent on illegal immigrants. The symbolism of this is just, take the funds. It's one thing to remove the funds from the illegal immigrants. And it's another thing to appropriate funds for homeless veterans. But specifically, I mean, all the money's fungible. Like, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. But from a narrative perspective, from an aesthetics perspective, making a point of taking the money from the illegal immigrants and diverting it to homeless veterans is a masterstroke. Now, the execution here is going to be is up in the air. I'll say that, because this center is going to be built in Los Angeles. So this either needs to be a pretext for conquering and purging Los Angeles of shitlibbery, or this is likely to be a very nice symbolic gesture that is very, very good-hearted, that ultimately just turns into a new money sink. But you can choose to be cynical. You can choose to not be cynical. I'm going to choose to not be cynical and believe that there is a plan and that there are people who are going to operate this initiative and actually ensure that it doesn't turn into every other initiative for the homeless in California. But I will say that I appreciate the gesture. Setting it up in Los Angeles, yeah, I don't know about that. We've got an Uncle Jamie appearance. Phil Gibson's in the chat. Look at this. JP, we got our Greek. Look at my Greek American. He showed up in the Palisades for the first time since the fire destroyed the branch. Got some interesting comments here.
JP Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon greets employees who used to work at this branch that burned down in the Palisades fire. Dimon takes photos of what's left of that branch and sits down with us in what will become the new branch within the next year.
Okay, so I don't know if this audio is coming through the same way for you guys as it is for me, but this is a little jarring. When I listened to this earlier, I was on my phone and I wasn't wearing headphones. Now I've got the split tracks where, like, the background noise is on the right and the narrator is on the left, and it's sort of making my eyes cross. So if it's doing the same to you, apologies. I didn't know that was that way when I said it, when I saved this and set it up to play it.
The reason we're here is to come look at the Palisades, look at our branch, thank our people here, understand the issue a little bit better, thank our people for what they did. We did a town hall this morning. It's devastation, and we want to be part of rebuilding it. You learn what's going on. I think it needs a lot more work and a lot more help.
What lessons do you think the state could learn from business?
I changed the name of red tape to blue tape because it's the Democrats who seem to want more and more regulations. We need good regulations. We need good food. We need good financial system. We need good. It's just not more, and more. And you see it in everything, permitting and licensing, and there are lessons to be learned. And whether you're a Democrat or Republican, you should be saying, I want an efficient government. Even the Palisades, if you want to get this built, you need. I would have a Palisades rebuilding building with everyone in the room. Literally, I'd have right here. I have sanitation, fire, police, roads, insurance, local, state, federal government in the room with charts. What are the problems? Because it's a huge management problem, and government doesn't put top people who can run projects into management. It's too often politicians who were academics who've never run anything.
Very interesting comments. Now, in the context of rebuilding a building here, I don't know if he was doing this intentionally, but if you've ever purchased a new home or you've been involved in the construction of a new home, you might be familiar with the term blue tape. Doing a blue tape, as the lingo has it. At most new home builders, all the ones that I've interacted with, they have you go through. Me being the buyer's agent, I go through with my clients, and you do a blue tape, which is a blue tape inspection. So you take blue tape and you go around and you put little pieces of blue tape all over the entire house on anything that you want addressed before the contractors come through one last time. And it is the people who are working, the people who, like, the builders and the contractors and the real estate agents involved, for them it's extremely tedious. It is incredibly tedious. The homeowners, typically the people who are buying the house, they're typically very much into it. They're like, oh yeah, let me go find every little imperfection. Let me find it and put a little piece of blue tape on it. But sometimes you'll get some that are, the builders, especially the lower end builders, are so bad. And so there's just so many flaws in the paint, or chip in the floor, or like the carpet doesn't line up with the wall, or all sorts of things like that. And so you go into a house and you'll just see, it looks like the house has blue leprosy, just blue spots all over the place. So when I hear blue tape, that's what I think of, and it's like, oh, this extremely tedious, horrifying thing that nobody likes except for the homeowner. Then obviously there's the blue. There's maybe a little double meaning there. I don't know if he intended it, but it's very clear that Jamie Dimon is fully behind. He is a noted proponent of the government efficiency effort, and is also signaling, like, to have the chairman and CEO of J.P. Morgan, most powerful bank in the world, sit down and record this interview in this place. This isn't just like, oh, hey, there's a nice thing happening and I'll go do an interview for it. Like, this is he wants to send a message. And one of the messages that he's sending is, enough academic eggheads in government. We need actual operators who can get shit done. We need efficiency. We need productivity. We need to live in a civilization again. Love me some Uncle Jamie. Okay, this will get a little bit nerdy, but I'm going to do my best to make it make sense. And I think it's fairly straightforward. But this is a notable thing to keep an eye on for those of you who are interested in this whole euro dollar establishment of a new U.S. dollar system, pretexts for trade negotiations, and what the new economic system is going to look like, particularly for us here in the United States. So this is Michael McNair. He's a fund manager, a macro quant AI. Just never seen it before I saw this tweet, but this tweet did some numbers. And we've talked about Stephen Miran, who is the chair of I believe the National Economic Council, and Heritage Foundation guy. And he wrote his user's guide. What was it? It was like a user's guide to resetting global trade, or something along those lines. It seems very much many of the things that the administration has been doing, a lot of the stuff that Secretary Bessent has been talking about as they approach the trade negotiations and rebalancing currencies and trade deficits and all that sort of thing. It seems that he's cribbing from Miran's user's guide. Miran wrote his user's guide in cooperation with him, or they're just on the same page. Either way, this user's guide is one of the most important things that you can read if you want to understand what it appears the administration is moving toward in terms of an economic model. So Michael McNair says, is Treasury quietly executing Miran's gold to FX playbook? We have compelling evidence of stealthy U.S. FX reserves, that's foreign exchange, so other countries' currencies. We have compelling evidence of stealthy U.S. FX reserve accumulation using gold. Stephen Miran's 2023 User's Guide detailed how Treasury could convert gold into foreign reserves without congressional approval. Current market fingerprints suggest Miran's playbook may already be active. So this tweet here, he describes what he's seeing here and how what it looks like is happening. And then I have another tweet from him where he goes into what it means, like what the takeaway is here, what this seems to indicate. So how Miran's strategy works. First, buy unlimited gold. So the Treasury, under 31 U.S.C. 5116, can acquire bullion freely without new appropriations, typically financing via short-term T-bills. So Treasury can buy as much gold as they want without appropriations from Congress. They're on the books. It's kind of a unique thing, actually, for the U.S. Treasury, that I think they might be the only country or one of the only countries in the world that can actually do this. They could buy as much gold as they want. And they typically do that via issuing short-term T-bills. So gold is the only asset Treasury can later monetize into foreign cash without new appropriations. So if they're wanting to add to their store of foreign cash so that they can do the same thing that other countries do to the U.S., where other countries maintain stores of U.S. dollars or purchasing U.S. debt so that they can manipulate their currency with respect to the U.S. dollar. Well, if the Treasury wants to do that, if they want to just buy those other currencies directly, they have to get appropriations from Congress for it. However, there's a workaround here, which is they can effectively monetize gold to purchase that cash without ever having to and they can do this as much as they want without ever having to go to Congress. So number two is you monetize the gold later. The Gold Reserve Act requires proceeds from gold sales to retire Treasury debt. So if the Treasury does sell gold, the Gold Reserve Act requires them to use the proceeds from that to pay off Treasury debt. So they create a debt liability first. The Exchange Stabilization Fund, which is a fund the Treasury has, sells dollars forward. For example, they're agreeing to deliver US dollars in 6 months in return for euros. Then they settle using gold. So just before that 6 months is up, just before the settlement, the Treasury sells the gold. They immediately use the dollars raised from that to retire the forward liability, satisfying the statutory debt reduction. So they issue the debt. The debt is going to be, they're going to, at the end of the term of this debt, they're going to deliver US dollars in return for example, euros. But what they end up doing is they sell the gold, use the proceeds from that to pay it off, and then keep the euros. So they didn't actually have to go through Congress when they do this. The result is the Treasury swapped idle bullion, so the bullion is just sitting there, for interest-bearing FX reserves. So when they buy the other currency is going to bear interest for them. They did it all within existing law with no congressional vote, no hit to headline debt, and no directional bet on gold. So they're not manipulating the gold market with this, and they're not actually net increasing the debt overall. And they didn't have to get Congress involved. So that's the whole playbook. You buy gold freely, and then you use it as collateral to flip into euros or yen via a forward sale of dollars. So here's the evidence that this tactic is live. There's 2,000 plus tons of gold were shipped to New York since December, the largest inflow ever. We've talked about that on here. If you've listened to Tom Luongo or Stormy or Luke Groman or any of the other, this was publicly talked about on mainstream networks and everything. There's massive inflow of gold. The euro forward rate, so essentially this is where it gets kind of wonky and it's even a little bit over my head. Essentially the 1 year forward discount versus the spot euro USD trade. It normally tracks the spot closely, but recently has diverged sharply. So just what you have to see is that there is this image. You can see historically how closely these two have tracked, the euro spot and the euro 12-month forward rate. And then you can see here in about the middle of February, all of a sudden they sharply diverge from one another. So he's providing the evidence. So he's sort of like, you can't see any of this happening directly, but you can sort of begin to notice the footprints of it in the system as you look through it. You can see, well, this is happening and this is happening, this is happening and this is happening. All of those things moving in that direction could imply that there's this sort of hidden thing that's going on. It's sort of like the black hole that you only see it by, you see all the other things that are around it. So he said this diversion between the 1 year forward discount versus the spot, that diversion in it indicates that someone who is rate insensitive is supplying dollars or demanding euros in the forward market strongly enough to flatten the curve, even as the cash market pushes spot higher. So this is someone who's making this sort of move. Whatever's happening, whatever move is being made that's causing these footprints to show up, is being done by someone who's doing this as an intentional matter of policy and not just doing it to try to generate some revenues or something like that. Because they're rate insensitive. They're not doing this because the goal is to try to make money or like increase their stock or something like that. There's another point to it. That's precisely the footprint that you would expect if a large player were selling US dollars forward in size while simultaneously accumulating euros. The forward supply leans on the basis/forward points, but the spot legs of those trades, whether outright euro buys or the mirror leg of a gold swap, push spot up. This stuff, I'll be honest, this stuff is kind of over my head. So I'm just taking him at his word. In other words, the correlation break is further circumstantial evidence that the forward leg is being used to fund something structural, not a speculative punt. So that's what I was kind of getting at here. There's something that's structural that's being done intentionally as a matter of intentional policy versus just like, hey, maybe we're trying to arb something here. Number 2, last week, Treasury abruptly raised its Q2 borrowing estimate by $390 billion, primarily in short-dated bills, which is precisely how you'd pre-fund a substantial forward settlement requiring cash delivery. Now, he says, admittedly, this theory could partially be explained by other factors. So a little intellectual honesty here. He said European institutional investors have sold large unhedged US dollar asset holdings, pressuring spot Euro USD upward. That's a possible thing that could have happened. The massive bullion inflows to COMEX over to the US were partly driven by tariff fears, creating a profitable ARB and prompting dealers to deliver gold against COMEX futures. So people expected tariffs were coming, so they were amassing gold for that reason and not for the reason he's describing here. He said that extra bills issuance, this $390 billion here, could merely be catch-up financing to get the Treasury general account back to $850 billion once the debt ceiling is lifted. But if Treasury were also buying bullion for a forthcoming FX swap, the mechanics would look identical on headline borrowing data. You would issue the bills now, which shows up as higher net borrowing. You would pay bullion suppliers. The cash outflow eats into the Treasury general account. And then you would sell the gold for dollars at forward settlement. So the mechanism on the surface, given the data that would be available to us, it looks like this is what's happening. So it could be these other things as well, but it would also apply to this Miran thesis. He said it also doesn't fully explain why the Euro USD forward curve has flattened steadily across longer maturities, nor why the forward versus spot correlation would break so decisively, nor the curious alignment with Treasury's sudden borrowing spike, and why COMEX stocks would remain persistently high after the tariff exemption only bled approximately 1.5 million ounces, small versus the inflow. Why isn't the metal racing back to London now that the ARB is gone? So if these were just people trying to get ahead on the tariffs that were coming, well, now that the tariffs have come, then that ARB doesn't exist there anymore. There's no tariff regime to get ahead of, so why wouldn't it wind up going back to London? There's some reason why it's being brought to these shores and kept here. He said, also important to note that public ledgers still show flat official FX assets. This means either dealer banks are warehousing the euro and yen leg until forward settlement, which is perfectly consistent with Miran's structure, or we're still testing the plumbing with modest ticket sizes. We should know for certain in short order, as Treasury must publish sovereign wealth fund details by Sunday, May 4, and Thursday's H41 release and upcoming TIC banking data will confirm whether we're witnessing the first genuine U.S. FX reserve build in decades, or if it's simply an improbable set of coincidences that just happen to perfectly align with the mechanics of Miran's gold reserve accumulation strategy. So, if what's happening is what he thinks it is, it would represent the first genuine U.S. foreign exchange reserve build in decades, which would be a substantial change in economic policy. He said, fun fact, the U.S. is the only G7 country. This is where I saw it. It's the only G7 country that still has a law in the books allowing their treasury to buy gold without congressional or parliamentary appropriation. And then he has some other stuff here. This is all fairly wonky. So the link will be in the Kingpilled Substack if you want to go dig into this more. He says this one here, an important point worth highlighting. When you buy spot gold and sell it forward, a gold carry trade, you're synthetically replicating US dollar funding. That's because gold forward points equals the cost of funding in dollars minus the gold lease rate. Under Miran's FX reserve strategy, the Treasury buys gold, financed with short-term bills, then sells dollars forward against foreign currencies. When the forward matures, it sells the gold to raise the dollars it owes, satisfying the Gold Reserve Act's reduced debt clause. The reason this matters is that the gold forward structure effectively funds the FX purchase at the prevailing USD rate without any permanent addition to public debt and without a congressional appropriation. Gold itself is the interim funding mechanism. So if Treasury is running this loop, it's not just swapping gold for euros and yen, it's synthetically recreating the US dollar funding curve through gold. It's actually a brilliant strategy, and people claimed Miran was out of his depth. So they're not just swapping gold for euros and yen, they're synthetically recreating the US dollar funding curve through gold. If this is what's actually happening, and it seems as if it is, this is a stark realignment in the US dollar system. So here's another tweet from him going into more detail about what this means and what the implications for it are. Again, this is Michael J. McNair on Twitter. He says, Trump's economics chief, Stephen Miran's reserve accumulation plan via gold FX loop or sovereign wealth fund isn't just about building FX reserves. Its most important purpose may be exposing the hypocrisy in the global monetary system and setting the stage for capital controls. If the U.S. starts accumulating foreign currency reserves, just as China, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and others have done for decades, it forces those countries to show their hand. When they inevitably push back and intervene to block inflows, exactly what we saw this week across Asian FX markets, the administration could say, you claim dollar reserves create an exorbitant privilege, but when we try to return the favor, you actively intervene to stop it. So the claim for the standard system here is that all these other countries holding on to dollars is an exorbitant privilege for the United States. This is what it is to have the global reserve currency. All these other countries all hold substantial US dollar reserves. And this is supposed to be an exorbitant privilege for America. How could America be complaining? This is why America has to be a net debtor and have a dual deficit country. Net debtor and a net importer. So why is America complaining? You guys, you get the exorbitant privilege of having the dollar, having your currency as the global reserve. And they're like, oh, okay, so if it's a good thing when other countries hold your currency, then surely you won't mind if we start accumulating stores of your currency. And they go, hey, hold on just a second. No, you can't do that. We don't want you buying through this mechanism. We want to protect our currency from you. So you can't manipulate it. And so then the administration can go, oh, okay. So when the shoe's on the other foot, suddenly, oh no, now it's not a benefit. Oh, so it turns out it actually isn't a total net benefit for us if all of you are all holding onto our currency and manipulating it out of our control. If other countries are allowed to intervene, sterilize inflows, and control capital to manage their exchange rates, then why shouldn't the U.S. do the same? Thus, Miran's reserve accumulation strategy sets up a justification for the administration to implement capital flow policies. The gold FX loop becomes a kind of policy demonstration. We're doing exactly what you've done for decades, and look how uncomfortable it makes you. And we shouldn't underestimate how important it is for the administration to have explanatory arguments like this as it tries to build consensus among countries with deeply divergent economic interests in order to restructure a trading system where most countries can't even agree on what the core problem is. What makes this so powerful is that it's not just theory, it's a revealed preference. When surplus countries resist inflows, so when the countries that are net exporters, so if I'm a net exporter, then that means I'm going to have net currency inflows. Because I'm going to sell the stuff to you, and I'm going to take currency from you in return for it when you purchase it. So if they block that off, if they're like, well, no, I don't want you coming and buying my currency, then they're admitting the system is asymmetric and that the role the U.S. plays isn't a privilege, but a burden that surplus countries themselves refuse to shoulder. So the surplus countries are effectively parasitizing on the U.S. dollar system. They don't want to shoulder the burden of being a deficit country. They want to be a surplus country. We want to be able to maintain control over our currency and be able to manipulate it at will. And that requires the counterparty, in this case, the U.S., the holder of the global reserve currency, to not manipulate its currency. It has to be constrained. It has to be reactive in order for this system to be sustained. So there is an asymmetricness. It is asymmetric. as currently constructed. And having this demonstrated, borne out like this, can provide that justification that can be used both in negotiations privately and publicly from a messaging perspective. It exposes the fundamental double standard. They demand the U.S. maintain an open capital account while refusing to accept the same obligation themselves. So, what this is most likely a pretext for is the creation of, as Tom Luongo has been speculating for a long time now. I'd say probably not just speculating, but making an educated prediction, perhaps, that we are going to get an onshore. We're going to get an onshore dollar that begins to diverge from the offshore dollar, and this is going to involve capital controls. There's going to be I don't know exactly what the mechanisms of it are going to be, but basically the administration is going to be prioritizing, incentivizing people keeping capital within the country. Instead of the U.S. being like the money laundering operation for the rest of the world to funnel all of their shit through while we just sit here and be parasitized upon, we're going to keep these resources. We're going to trade more within the country, state to state, person to person, and we're going to maintain more of the dollars here within the country. And people who want access, people from outside the country who want access to dollars, to dollar liquidity, which they've got all this debt denominated in dollars, so they're going to have to come get dollars somehow. Well, they're going to have to get SOFR dollars. They're not going to get LIBOR dollars anymore. They're going to get SOFR dollars. And it's going to be contingent upon them agreeing to structure their own trade and currency accounts in a cooperative way with the United States. So it's sort of closing the United States off, but also expanding the United States at the same time. There's sort of a consolidation and an expansion happening simultaneously, because the other countries that come into this under the security umbrella and into this new currency arrangement are sort of becoming like proxy states in the like American states sense, or proxy territories, kind of. They're starting to come under that, blurring the line between just being an independent nation and actually being a formal satrapy. So anyways, I found that story very interesting. The paywall mafia begins, says Phil Gibson. Indeed. Okay, let me see any other comments here. My wife says, like the show and brush your teeth before going to bed, y'all. Yep, that's all I got. So I appreciate you guys showing up. We got a nice late lab wrapping up after midnight. It is a morning show once again. We knew it would happen. So do me a favor, hit the like button, follow me on Twitter @RealKingPilled. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell for whatever that's worth. If you join the King Pill Discord over at kingpill.com, then you will always know when I get live, because I always hit the everyone ping. So if you want to know for sure exactly when I go live, you could do that. You can follow me on Twitter @RealKingPilled as well. And go listen to EWBSX. You got a little sample at the beginning of the episode here. The app is live on the Google and App Stores. Switch over there now. Go download the app. Listen to 24/7 radio for our guys. You can give your thumbs a break, give your eyes a break. Let us be the algorithm that guides you. The one algorithm you can trust. We'll make sure it's good. And I think that's all I got. King Pilled Substack. That'll have all the links. I'll get that uploaded here. And if you're listening on the podcast, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Help us get this in front of more people. Have yourselves a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday with another episode of The Labe. For now, I leave you with Hulk.
When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States,